What's going on, everybody? What's going on? What's going on? How y'all doing? How's everybody's spring break going? What's up? Yeah. I'm out here. I had to kidnap Coach Johnson, take over the show real quick. That's what's up. That's what's up. I'm glad y'all enjoying yourselves. I had to kidnap Coach Johnson to take over the live today. Don't worry. He's all right. He got food. He got water. He got some air. But I had to take him out real quick. But how's everybody's spring break going? Drop it in the chat. How y'all spring break going? How y'all spring break going? What's up, Gemma? You said I'm lagging. Hold on. Hold up. Let me just make sure my internet is correct. Hey, am I still lagging? All right, cool. All right, bet. Well, listen, y'all, we got a special day today. Today we are going to be talking about just really being aware of who you are, right? We're going to cover things like, communication. We're going to cover things. What else are we covering today? We're covering things like communication, conflict resolution, knowing yourself, understanding and knowing what you want in life, and knowing where you need to improve. Because, like, at the end of the day, like, when you are truly aware of yourself, when you're truly in tune with who you are and not just assuming that you know yourself because like it's you, we're going to really dive deep into today's discussion. We got an amazing guest. I'm gonna have some questions uh, for them, and they are going to really just give some insight on their perspective. Because a lot of the questions that I had to ask the person prior to, like, hey, over the year, how have you got to know yourself more? What are some areas? What are some things that you can share? So without further ado, if y'all ready, I need y'all to say ready in the chat. If y'all ready, I need y'all to say ready in the chat, so that we can get this amazing live started. We got an hour. We got a lot to talk about. So without further ado, I would like to bring up our special guest. So let's go. You already know. You already know who it is. I need y'all to show them some love in the chat. You already know who it is.
Hey everyone.
It's the D to the O to the N. Don, let's go. Let's go, Don. How you feeling? Don?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great that I get the chance to grace this virtual stage with you. So I'm ready to dive into today's discussion. I know that we really had a great, one-on-one the other day, and we're really tapped into what we're talking about today. So again, today is all about self-awareness, learning, knowing, loving, growing with yourself, and we just ready to jump straight into it. So if you're ready, Don, we could just dive right into some questions, right?
I'm ready.
All right, solid. So listen, the first thing about self-awareness and knowing yourself and everything. So the first question that I have for you is about communication, right? Because me and you, we talked, and that was one of your areas that you really grew in over this past year with overall communication. So what has been the biggest lesson in regards to being an effective leader that you've learned, or effective communicator that you learned over this past year?
Can you repeat the question one more time? Just one more time.
Yeah. What has been the biggest lesson learned in regards to being an effective communicator? So when it comes to being an effective communicator, what has been the biggest lessons that you've learned?
I think when it comes to being an effective communicator, that sometimes you have to communicate in situations where you really don't want to. And I think that just by me communicating, I've made multiple situations way better and way less confusing than they could have been without the communication being present.
Got you. So I'm gonna ask you a follow-up question to that, right? So you
Mhm.
said being communicating even when you don't want to. Can you like break that down a little bit more for us? Like what you mean by that?
So with some situations, you may be uncomfortable or like emotional. You can be angry in a situation. So when it comes to communicating, you really don't want to because you fear that your words going to come up a certain way. So when it comes to situations like that, you still have to communicate regardless of how you're feeling. Maybe you don't communicate when you the Hulk. Maybe like calm down some, give it a few minutes, and then communicate so you can just get your point across and make sure everyone's on the same point and record.
Got you. So can you talk about something recent where you displayed that characteristic trait?
Yeah, I guess I can. I wasn't expecting that. Um,
Hey,
but
listen, when you got Mr. Sam on here, don't expect anything because I am throwed off.
I'm
So
dead. Okay, so as you all know, I go to Poly and I joined the marching band. We're called the Marching Flock. I'm on the auxiliary team, which is like the majorette kind of side of it, and I deal with like the flag. So like, which I think color guard is, but yeah. Um, so we were preparing for our Black History Month performance, and let's just say that some of the members on the auxiliary team are just a little snobby. I think it's because they go to Western. No shade to the Western people out there, love y'all down. But they can come off a little snobby sometimes, and a lot of people have noticed that from the marching flock. So we really don't like it. So, but like no one really ever addresses it. But mind you, we're like preparing for the performance. So we're preparing for the performance, and we have like our own little formation. So it's me, my friend Jade, another member, another member. So we're dancing, and then once the music stopped and we about to like repeat the practice over, one of the other members gonna say something smart and be like, "Well, I think you should be in the back because you're so tall." And like the way they said it just didn't feel right, and like you can tell that I wasn't the only one feeling that way because like the other people's faces. So then I was like, "Oh, okay," and then I went to the back. And then after we finished that little one rehearsal, I pulled him to the side and I was like, I was upset, but I said to like talk about it professionally and as a leader. So I was like, hey, I really don't like how you said that. And then I didn't really like her response, but at that point I had already did what was in my power to do. And she was basically like, well, I always talk like this, da 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 da. I'm like, okay. I just let her know that I didn't like it, and like I would like for it to not happen again. But I didn't say it like crazy mean. I just said it like real. So yeah, that was one of the situations where I had to like confront somebody or communicate, even when I really didn't want to, because I was afraid it would cause more conflict.
nah, I feel that. So like, and that's big, right? That's something that I want to extract the gem. That's one thing I do. I want to extract the gem that you said, and you said you did everything in your power. So everybody on this call, the one thing about communication and learning yourself and being self aware is being aware of what you have the ability to do, and you always have the ability to communicate even if the person isn't receptive. Because at the end of the day, everything that you have control over, you should do. If you have the control to speak up, to say something like Don, you advocated for yourself. And in a way where someone said something that didn't sit right with your spirit, you did it in a respectful way, and they didn't receive it the way that they should have. But at the end of the day, you did everything you could. So, and Gemma has said it's hard to communicate when you feel like you're talking to a door. Not as fast, y'all.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be a little crazy sometimes because it's like you're trying to get your playing cards and you're trying to make them like hear you, but they just stuck on their own opinion, their thought, and they're not listening to anything you're saying. So
hmm So yeah. So at the end of the day, that the gem from that question, y'all, is that you did everything that you could do in your power, and that's important for self-awareness, is being aware of your superpowers. And your superpowers are advocacy. Your superpowers are believing in yourself and these different things that we're going to dive into today.
Right.
So, and sorry about throwing that curveball, Don. More
No,
is
it's fine. It's fine.
more is coming. So just know that if you want to, if you just know that you got on here, I'm a little thrown off. So next is conflict resolution, right? So when it comes to like self-awareness, right, it's being able to resolve conflict. And I know there's people on the call that you have different levels. You might be really good at it. You might be okay at it. You might avoid it completely. So before I jump into this question, Don, what's your thought on, or how have you grown in your own ability to resolve conflict?
I think when it comes to conflict, I've like always been aware of a conflict being there, even when I was a problem. But I think since joining Heart Smile, since working on myself, my health, I think I've become less stubborn of like when I'm the problem, because when it comes to conflict, if I'm the problem, trust me, I know I'm the problem. But whether or not I address it is based on the stubbornness level I'm feeling. And like since I've been working on myself, I've gotten better with like not being so stubborn and petty and just like addressing it even when I'm the problem.
Got you. Not listen, I feel that. So like, do you feel in every situation we all play a role, whether good or bad? Like in
Um,
a situation of conflict, do you feel like you play a role even if you feel like you didn't instigate or start the conflict?
okay, that's a tricky question. I think in conflict, we all have a part to it, but I don't think it's necessarily a role. I think it's more of like two energies that aren't mixing at the same time. And like
Okay.
that shouldn't be mixing at the same time. So it needs to be addressed in order for the conflict to be like resolved and disputed.
Got you. Okay. I'm gonna circle back to that, but before I do, the question that I have that can really impact our audience today is: what would you say to someone that struggles with or avoids conflict that help them be better at resolving it?
One thing I would say to people who like avoid conflict in order to help them get better with solving it, I would say that yeah, you avoid the conflict now, but then 10 days later, it's gonna be knocking at your head. You in the shower, like, man, I wish I would have said this. I wish I would have said that. When you could have really just said something positive in the moment and like did it right there. So I think the main thing for people who avoid conflict is to not be afraid of a bad outcome. But like if you know things can get bad, like if it's like something crazy, like a physical, stay away from that. But like if it's something that can be easily addressed, if you just talk about it, do so. Don't push it off and wait so long that this person is thinking you're hating them, you low key hating them, and yeah.
Okay. Now I feel that, and drop some gems in the chat, y'all. If Don is dropping gems, and Talia has said, I wouldn't say you are the problem. Just need to find a better way to approach it. Sometimes the other person can come off a certain way to you, and so you might not be the problem, but find a better way. And and just circling back, because that was like the initial question that I asked you, Don, was about just like what does people play roles, what role or what role you might play in conflict. And I believe that regardless if you instigated, caused a conflict, we all play roles in any situation that has two or more people, right? Even one or more person. Like we play roles in our own conflict within ourselves. But I think it's being, aware. And one thing that you said you've been working on, like stubbornness, right? It's like in conflict, are we stubborn? In conflict, do we avoid it? In conflict, do we not listen to the other person? Because sometimes like somebody might be speaking some facts to you, but how they say it or how they approach it may be like completely off. So now your energies are different, or they might come at you with some negative energy and you feel it and you're just trying to protect yourself. So you might, be more defensive in that protection. So I think like the one thing that you said is like not is working on like being aware of how can you improve when it comes to conflict. And for everyone listening, when you're in a conflict or you're in a situation with someone, see how you interact in that situation, and then reflect on, do you actually like this interaction, or do you think like I could approach it differently? So I appreciate your thoughts on that.
No
Um,
problem.
so we jumping in, and people loving this conversation. So just jumping into the next question, right? So we're now jumping in a little bit more about knowing yourself. So I want and we'll get to that question. So Talia said, think of it as a seesaw. The weight might be heavier on one side, but also the weight on the other person is far can be making it harder to balance things out. Yeah. Again, we never know where
That's a
that
jewel.
person's coming from. That definitely is. You never know what that person's coming from. You never know what happened to the person prior to your interactions. You never know. Um, so transitioning into knowing yourself, Don. So what is knowing yourself? What does that mean to you? Like when you hear like knowing yourself, what does that mean to you? And I want people to also share their thoughts. What when it comes to knowing yourself, what does that mean to you? Y'all could drop it in the chat, and we'll read some after your response.
This is actually like pretty funny because for a long time I didn't know who I was. Like I had like bits and pieces, but I think when it comes to knowing yourself, it's knowing who you are as a person. So defining your name, your identity, and being in touch with not only your emotions, but others' emotions around you. So you know how to interact with them. And when you're like intruding on their space, because there's something about yourself that you would know. So I think just knowing about yourself is being aware of everything around you and everything in you.
Got you. Okay. And for me, similar, right? Knowing when I hear knowing yourself, it's just understanding that you're like multi-layered, meaning you're not one-dimensional, um, and also accepting. Part of knowing yourself is accepting the things that society says is flawed, is ugly, is inappropriate, is not right. Because I do believe like with social with society and social media and and peer pressures and all these different things, especially like at the younger generation, right? It it influences and infiltrates people's thought process on themselves. That's why you see people they're confused out here. They're following one trend, they're a part of one group, they believe in this one day, they believe in that the next day. And I truly believe like it's because they don't want to accept the things that other people have told them that shouldn't be part of their identity. And it's hard, and it puts people in boxes. It makes people, zombies. Makes people think about, oh, I need to be liked, and I need to, do this and do that. Like a lot of people create an image of themselves based on how likable they are to a group, to a program, or whatever it is, right? So let's look at what some folks got, what they said in the chat about knowing yourself.
This isn't in relation to like that specific question, but my mentor, Ms. Lanita, she said self advocacy is definitely a superpower.
Hmm.
Roman, in response to the question, said knowing what I stand for and what I deserve. Tonio said, excuse me, spatial awareness in his life.
Yeah, listen, and in the chat, Naeem said when it comes to knowing yourself, creating a character in a video game, you choose what you identify as, what you like, um, and what you strive for, and that's like actually interesting, right? That analogy, that comparison that Naeem had brought to our attention, right, is like when we're creating things, right? It's so much more than just like who am I like as a person is, and we're layered, right? And that's the biggest thing. It's like we're layered. We're not just one dimensional. It's important to accept all of you and change what you want to change, not what other people want you to change. And I know for me, I will be transparent. Like in middle school, this is why I struggled a lot with behavior, is because I was somebody that was accepted, right? I wasn't just a kid that got good grades. I started to, act out and do certain things so that I could be accepted. And I got to a certain point and I realized that none of that matters, because nobody is showing up for you when it comes time to like face decisions, face repercussions for your actions, and everything like that. So I think it's super important when it comes to that. Um, and I don't know, Don, if you had anything else you wanted to add. We got some people going off in the chat too, so I definitely want to make sure we highlight them too.
I'm gonna get to the comments and then I'm gonna add something. Kayla said, knowing yourself to me means understanding your feelings and knowing how to go about things based on the way you react to things, which I think is like so important. It's important to like know, not saying you have to know the outcome, but like knowing the possible outcomes of situations that you have control over changing. Big Mel said, taking time to discover who, what you are, and what you like or love as an individual. Myth said, knowing myself means knowing what you want, what you need, etc. I'm trying to see. Okay. So Talia said, knowing yourself is opening up to new beginnings and risks that is something you thought would never happen before. Sitting back and reflecting on you and improvements farther than your eye, which I think is very important because not everything always meets the eye. So sometimes you gotta sit with yourself and be like one with your emotions.
Yeah, and also to that point, it's like knowing yourself is also like you gotta try things out, right? You can't not experience life, right? It if if I wouldn't have took the risk of doing certain things that I did, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Right.
And I found out that I love certain things that I didn't know I loved before until like I actually tried it out. So I think that's also like experimenting, right? Don't just be the same that you were 5 years ago. There should be something new about you, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And one thing I did want to add on is how you mentioned like wanting to be accepted. I think the overall feeling of wanting to be accepted really distorts our version of who we are. Because I know for me, growing up was very difficult because of my gender identity and my sexual identity, and only came out like about 2 years ago. I think it's gonna be 2 years this year once like May hit, and it was a lot, and it was always me constantly wanting to fit in, although there was no one like me around me, and it took me a long time to realize that my unique self is okay.
Listen, and that's a gem right there. Like just knowing that it's okay to be you. It's okay to accept how you feel, because it just allows you to be more free in life, right? Because trying to like play something that you're not is exhausting. I don't know, like I mean, I've experienced it. It's exhausting.
It really is. And then when you look back at it, like when you're being your natural self, you're just laughing because it's like that's so embarrassing. Why would I ever do that? But then you feel like you had to do that. So
and it's a part of the process. That's where we also want to let everybody know on the call. Like everybody's still on the journey of learning yourself, because you learn yourself every day. You learn more about yourself every day, and it's a part of the process to go through a phase of like not understanding and knowing yourself, because we there's still aspects to us that's going to change that we don't even know is a part of our life. Like Don, in 10 years, there's going to be something that is a part of your life that you don't know now, but it's all a part of that journey, right? So I think that's like super important. And before we transition, anything else you want to finish up with that?
not really. I just wanted to touch on like how you said like how things come and go. Like 5 years ago, or like even 3 years ago, I would never see me on this call right now. I would never picture myself in this shirt. I like literally had no idea about Heart Smiles. And then I tried something new. I hopped on the live the first time in summer with success sessions, and then it just led to so many great opportunities that I'm happy to be able to take. So
Yeah, listen. Nah, that's love, and I'm happy for you. So like jumping into still like knowing yourself, right? For you, what does it mean to know what you want? Like, what does that really mean to you? Like knowing what you want.
um, so I don't always know what I want, but I think for me, with like knowing what I want, I think I need to experience certain things, and then other things I do know what I want. So I think, let me put this in the right wording. Can you ask the question one more time?
Yeah, so like for when it like when you hear like knowing what you want, what does that mean for you? Like that statement, what does that mean to you?
I think the statement means to me knowing what it is my heart wants and what it is my heart can handle. Because although I want to take on all these opportunities, I know my heart cannot handle me taking on all these opportunities. So knowing what I want most and comparing it to what I want, but it's not necessary. So I think this is a tricky question, but I think like the statement knowing what I want has to do with like my goals and my aspirations in life.
Got you. Nah, and I'm gonna actually tap in to something that you had said there. And for the chat, I want y'all to share like what does it mean to you when you hear that statement, knowing what you want. So so Don, you had said something along the lines of like knowing what you can handle. Talk to me more about that. And how did you learn what you can and cannot handle?
So for a long time, I thought I was Superman, or I guess the non-binary version of Superman. And I took on so many opportunities that I had multiple mental breakdowns. I had burnout, and once that happened, I was like, okay, I know that I want to do this, but I can't handle this. So I'm gonna just need to like sit it down on the side. And I kind of still feel like that right now with like everything going on in my life and like everything I'm doing. So I already told myself that next school year, my senior year, I'm gonna just keep it real chill. I'm only gonna do a certain amount of things that I really enjoy doing. And I'm
Mhm.
also say no more. I know me, Mr. Sam just talked about this the other day, but I think when knowing what you want, you also have to know how to say no.
Mm-hmm. That's big. That's a gem. Especially when you're afraid that people's reaction when you say no, because they're so used to you saying yes. And the moment that you say no, you're like, "What's going to happen?" And sometimes it's a bad reaction, and you're just like, "Yo, like you, what's going on?" Um, and for me, I had to actually go through things and experience things to learn what I actually wanted. So this y'all gonna get to this point, right? Y'all gonna get to the point where like y'all are living on your own. You're going through like your first apartment and your first experiences living on your own. And I had to go through multiple houses, multiple apartments to understand what I need to ask for, what I need to look around for. This is a gem, y'all. Whenever you get your first apartment, ask your neighbors that rent from the same person. How is the landlord? Do they fix things on time? So I had to learn a whole bunch of things. So in relations to y'all, like knowing what you want, you gotta like go through experiences. You can't like tiptoe through things or like only try certain things. In order to get the experience, you gotta also know what you don't want. Like knowing what you want also means knowing what you don't want, and like that's like real big. So I kind of want to like stay there, right? I want to kind of stay there with you, Don. Um, but before we do that, let's actually take some things in the chat, some questions in the chat or responses in the chat.
I'm gonna pick the first one I see. Kayla said, "Knowing what you want to me means being realistic with yourself about your feelings towards an action for a certain thing," and I definitely agree. Um, Miss Mel said, in response to what I said, taking a step back and knowing when you have to take a pause. When the time is right, you will get back to it. Yes. Tonio said, as life goes, you're going to change. And a big thing of it is realizing and being aware of those changes and acknowledging them. And I think one of the biggest things is like acknowledgement, because something can happen and you can be so hurt about it, but you won't ever get to recover and heal until you actually take a step back and acknowledge what happened, how that made you feel, and what you would like to do moving forward to prevent that from happening ever again.
Hmm. And also to add to that, it's like the acknowledgement piece is you have to also acknowledge like what it's going to take to get the thing you want, and that's the biggest thing. Understanding what it's going to take and not how long it's going to take, because your timetable is different from the person that you might have saw got the thing that you want, right?
Right.
And especially, in business, right? You see some people blow up over the span of a year. You see some people that take 5, you see some people that take 10, you see some people that take 2 months. And we can't look at other people that has gotten the thing that we want and think like our journey is going to be like theirs. And we have to also be open to just the journey and not the destination. Like focusing on that journey is bigger than the destination, because the destination doesn't matter if you don't know how you got there, right?
Yeah.
So that you can replicate, the mental aspect that goes into going after what you want and not feeling like, oh, just because I want it, it'll fall on my lap. And a lot of times, we get caught up in that, not doing enough work and then mad at the results.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on two things. Just one thing you said about like finding a house. It kind of ties into Miss Mel's comment, and she said experience help you discover yourself as well. And to like backtrack on what you said about like finding a place you want to like call your home. I know for me, I've lived in multiple houses, apartments over the past couple of years, and I've noticed some things that I do want to take with myself. So when I'm like finally like settling in, I know in my kitchen I do not want a window above the sink. No, I don't want I don't want a door with the window next to the sink either, because it's like a little traumatizing. But when it comes to like washing the dishes at nighttime, the thoughts really be getting to me, and then things be going on in the world. I'd be like a little scared. Like, what if somebody just pop up while I'm washing dishes? I'm gonna pee my pants. So I know I don't want that. And with the heat, how the world is going now, and with global warming, I do know I want a place that's like relatively cool, so I'm not literally sweating my eyeliner off every chance I get.
Mhm. See, and that is a case study of knowing what you want based off of your experiences and discovering yourself. So like that's like super big. Listen, um, so but I actually have another question before I jump into our second and last question. Something I talked about is the journey, right? What is the journey of self awareness? Like, what does that look like for you, and what advice would you give to others before they even embark on this journey?
Um, I consider myself a very self-aware person, even though I don't know everything about myself just yet. I know a lot of things that meet the eye in that deal with me interacting with other entities. So I think the journey of like self-awareness is, I'm trying to say it without saying everything you just said. Um, I think the journey, oh yeah, like Roman said, just taking every experience and like there's always something you can learn from an experience, whether you like it or not. So I think one thing I would tell someone before they embark on their self-awareness journey is that some things you may not like about yourself. Like I know a lot of things I didn't like about myself, about how the way I acted with other people, with myself. In my self-awareness journey helped me realize that I could be the one to change it, and only I had that power.
Yeah, and that's big. I think it's like understanding that you have the power to change something you don't like about yourself. For the most part, there's certain things like, I mean, I could, but like, I mean, I love being black. That's just me personally. but like I love being black. So I couldn't like change the color of my skin if I wanted to. I mean, I could, but I wouldn't. So
Yeah,
like
I don't want to. I don't want to. I'm cool.
yeah, I'm good over here. I'm good with the skin complexion, all tones, even in summertime when the sun be out. But I think like the biggest thing is like you said, you have the ability to change yourself. You have the ability to change things you don't like to a certain extent, right? Um, and I think also a part of the journey that's key is you're not gonna like the confrontation or confronting things that you've been lying to yourself about. Like I'm a this is transparent, y'all. We in therapy, we a family. Besides the people that aren't a part of Heart Smile that's on here, but it's like no, I'm not so sure.
Yo, he just kidding. He just kidding.
I'm just
Look
kidding.
at him.
I like the joke after 6 o'clock. But like the one thing is like I remember years ago, probably like about 2 years ago, I had to confront myself and I did some self discovery and I had to confront myself on certain characteristics about myself that did not sit right with me and did not belong where I was trying to go. As we grow, we gotta shed. We gotta shed some dead skin, right? That dead skin is like our old habits, it's our old thoughts, it's the lies that we've been telling ourselves. I'll be real, everyone has lied to themselves at one point in their life. Some people have been lying to themselves for years. For me, I was lying to myself for years. I was lying to myself for years about certain things that I thought I wasn't doing, or the thought that I wasn't like, this isn't me. I'm not this person. And then when I really reflected, I'm like, I kind of am. I'm kind of am. So I needed to have that real moment. Like, all right, before I can create change, I got to create awareness. And I had to create awareness on that specific habit, on those specific habits, on those things that I just was telling myself that I'm not before I can truly change it. So, like, that's big, y'all. You got to confront the lies you've been telling yourself on this self awareness journey.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I definitely want to say like, yeah, we be lying to ourselves sometimes. Like I remember I used to lie to myself down like 24/7, saying that I was just your average straight man. Please, me, no. And then one thing I did want to touch on is like a lot of things you're not gonna like about yourself. So when it comes to self awareness, at one point you might lose yourself, and that's okay. I think in order for you to be sane, is to lose yourself every now and then and redefine yourself and figure out what it is you want for yourself. And I actually saw an Instagram post not too long ago. I'm gonna find it real quick and try to read it to y'all in a bit. So yeah.
Listen, I always say this a part of my keynote speeches, y'all. I always say you got to have a breakdown to have a breakthrough. And for me, like I had to have multiple breakdowns in my life before I got to this point. The Mr. Sam that y'all see and how I carry myself, because y'all know I carry it. Um, like, listen, I carry it well, but I haven't always been this way, and I'm not perfect where I'm at now. But like me, a couple years ago, I was young and immature. I used to tell myself I'm not immature. I'm very mature for my age. Like I'm actually more mature than most people think. But to be honest, I wasn't mature. I mean, y'all might think I'm a little immature now, but that's okay because I know myself and I know I've grown. But I truly believe that I had to tell myself, no, you're immature in these areas. No, you need to become more professional in these areas. You need to handle and carry yourself a certain way. And I started to lose myself in this journey, y'all. I started to like have these conflicting thoughts of battling back and forth. Like this is true versus this is not true. This is a lie versus this is the truth. And overall, like I lost myself during that period of time, but then I also found who I was. And I actually didn't lose myself. I lost who I thought I was. I lost who I thought I was. And we yes, losing yourself is okay because then you learn some new things about yourself. Mine was with my divorce, and it made me shed some old things about myself and learn what I will or will not accept. And that's big. And I appreciate you being transparent in that. because a lot of times, like, we go through these different journeys, y'all, and we feel broken, but we're actually transforming into a higher version of ourselves. We're actually transforming into a higher version of ourselves, and Melvina, like, you transformed into a higher version of yourself, right? And now yourself is proud of yourself. When you look yourself in the mirror, like, you're proud. And Don, like, when you look yourself in the mirror, I know you're proud, and I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Like, I may not be where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. I may not
Real.
be who I fully am, and things that I'm still working on, but I'm working. And that's the key thing. Never stop working. Like, don't stop working thinking that you're complete, because we're never complete.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I didn't used to. I wasn't always proud of myself. I think looking. Okay, so this is something I do like occasionally just to remind myself that I'm that person for real. So I take a lot of photos, videos of myself, things that go on in my life, and then like say a year from now, I would like look back on the videos and photos just to see myself slowly grow about each photo. And be like, oh my god, yeah, I really accomplished that. And I found the post I was talking about. So I'm gonna read it to y'all real quick. I'm gonna drop that ad in the chat. They're an artist, so they make like graphic design art and like add these amazing quotes over the art. So I'm gonna put it in the chat. And the post says, "You can only be truly free if you're not afraid to lose your mind." And that's just real. I feel like losing your mind sometimes is necessary for you to keep going forward, like Mr. Sam said, and to make a breakthrough. I'm gonna also repost this post in my story because, like, when I saw this, I instantly fell in love with that page. I'm like, yeah, that's real. That's real. That's too real.
Not as big. Listen, and before we jump into this last question, like, to your point of like losing your mind, right? When you have a focused mind, your mind is contained, right? It's contained around your current thoughts, around your current beliefs. But when you like lose your mind, you lose that containment, means your mind is now running free, and for the good or the bad, like, it's going to discover something that you were keeping outside of this fence that you have now built around your mind. So like, you only can truly be free when you're not afraid to lose your mind. So that's a bar right there. That's a bar right there. We are listen, y'all. We got about 15 minutes left. 16 minutes left. So jumping into these last questions. And real quick, y'all, listen. I'm checking in. If this is a session that y'all feeling that y'all gaining a lot from, I need y'all to drop some gems in the chat. Drop some love, some hearts, some emojis, some 100 emojis, all that. Don, so my question for you around self-awareness is, how did you learn how to seek improvement, seek growth? How did you learn how to start to seek growth, seek improvement, and what was that like for you?
I think a lot of me learning to seek improvement is not liking how I was treated growing up. I feel like if I wasn't treated the way I was, and not saying I was treated a bad way for a reason, but I think a lot of the things that happened to me really rewired my brain and made me realize, like, wow, that's really not okay. And I hate people who act like that. I hate people who talk to me like that. And I hate when I do things out of anger that hurt other people. This is like in relation to me and my relationship with my siblings. We all grew up in a very trauma full household, and at certain points, when certain things would happen to us individually, we would like take that and we would reflect. Um, I remember I had this conversation with Myth a couple of years ago, and I had come to the realization that a lot of the things I said to Myth wasn't okay. It wasn't nice, and I apologize. I apologize, and I let them know that a lot of the things I said was because I was reflecting it. I didn't know how to control my emotions or the things that could have or the things that came out of my mouth, and I wasn't really stable. And then from there, I think even though me and Myth begin into it sometimes, I think we both come back to like this common ground. Like, yeah, we really siblings, and we understand each other, and we want each other to grow. So I think a lot of it comes from my interactions with other people, especially the people who are close with me.
Amazing, and just so for you, it started with it, from what I'm hearing, it started with like your family and your siblings like growing in that way, and then you started to branch out like when it came to just like seeking more improvement of yourself, right?
Yes.
Got you. So like, what would your expert advice be on others that are also looking to improve but just don't know how? Some people, they just can't identify areas of improvement. So like, what would your advice to them be, and for people that are listening?
Um, my advice would be that there are multiple areas of improvement, whether it be your physical health, your mental health, your business. Like I know me and Miss Lanita was just talking about a way to expand my business, was to actually be asking my clients, how do you feel about what's going on? What have I done good so far? What would you like to see change? Is there anything that you would like me to stop doing in order to better both of us? So I think the main thing is asking questions not only to other people but yourself. Do you like the way that you do the certain tasks? Do you like the way that you're running your business? Do you feel like it's successfully helping you achieve your goals?
Got you. Okay, amazing. So it's like just uh, it seems like looking at different areas of your life and just assessing it, right? And that for me, early on, the only time I would start to improve is when things got really, really bad, right? Whether it was self awareness of me in a relationship as a partner, me as a brother, me as like a grandson, a son, me as just like, a leader. Um, I really didn't start to seek improvement until my back was against the wall, right? Um, until my back was against the wall because I felt like I was always, I'm not going to lie. Early on, I felt like I was at a certain point where I didn't need to improve. I didn't need to seek growth and development. And early on, like in my teenage years, it really just stuck to me. And it got to a point where eventually I had to realize that I'm not as good as I think I am. I'm not as great of a person as I think I am. And that was like a real moment for me, y'all, because again, I think highly of myself. So when I really had to be like, well, you're not actually that great of a person. Actually, you could be a better brother. Actually, you could be a better partner in your relationship, right? That's when I started to just wake up every day, 1%. Like, how can I improve in this area? What did I do yesterday that I could do today? And for me, like, I had to learn that I'm never stopped growing, and that in order to grow, I need to seek improvement. So it really, it hurts. It hurts to be truthful to yourself, but the moment that they say the statement, the truth will set you free. It really set me free in understanding that like I'm not as amazing as I think I am, and I need to always keep working on it. And I can't live off of who I was a couple years ago, right? Because things change, people change, situations change. Um, so in the comments, Talia said, for me, it's still taking time. I've slowly been reflecting on how I would react. How would I react to how I'm treating this person and how I'm handling these things? It also helped me look at how it is affecting me. Yeah, listen, things are affect us consciously or subconsciously. Um, a lot of upbringings that y'all are experiencing, y'all may not be affected until y'all get my age. And it's important for y'all to go on that journey of self-reflection, self-love, self-discovery, everything. Um, Miss Melvina said, Mrs. saying that as growth, some people think they are good and they don't think they need or should improve. Listen, we all can improve, y'all. Like there's not you're never too good to improve. Um, you're never too at a certain point in your life where you feel like you're untouchable. Um, so Don, any other comments that you want to add to everything that's been going on?
I wanted to touch on Miss Malvina's comment, then Antonio's and Talia's other comments. So I'm gonna put
All
that
right, cool.
away. Big Mel said you shouldn't always drag the past into the present, and I definitely agree. I think in some situations it's needed, but then in other situations you really just making excuses for yourself. So you have to differentiate like when you should bring something up versus when you can deal with what is now and how you can move forward. And that also ties into Tonio's comment. He said, reflect on past events and use them to improve. And I definitely think there's always something you can reflect on in like every situation you go through. How you woke up on the side of the bed this morning, how you brush your teeth and your mouth started bleeding. Like you reflect on what happened and what can be done better. And ultimately, I think growing is like a never ending thing. It will always happen. And Talia said, I ask myself, what am I doing that's affecting me every day? What action or steps am I taking that's affecting my future? How does this set me back from my goals in a better beginning? And this definitely shows that asking questions can help you answer them yourself. Antonio, now I'm about to boot you off the call.
Listen,
You got to pick a favorite session. I'm sorry.
It's a new day, it's a new experience. Antonio said every day is my favorite session. Listen, this was great. We got a couple minutes, and I know we end off with just dropping some jewels, but questions, y'all. Does anybody have any questions around our discussion today that's been on your heart, that's been sizzling in your spirit, that's been dancing in your soul? Like, talk to us. Any questions that y'all got?
Okay, I got a question for you actually. I know you're the host, but how has your journey with self-awareness been throughout your life?
Um, hmm. My journey through self-awareness throughout my life has been if I had to describe it, it is like a sour patch. Like meaning that some parts of my journey and my of self-awareness and understanding what I'm capable of, right? I'm gonna break it down, right? So sour patches, right? You got the sour part, and then when you eat into the candy, it tastes good, it's sweet, right? So the sweet part of my self-awareness journey has been me discovering my purpose, me discovering, what I'm good at, me impacting people, me understanding what I like that has now led me to the work that I'm doing now. That has been amazing because it's one of them aha moments like, wow, like I'm good at this, or wow, when someone one thing I love more than anything, don't give me gifts, give me like a card and write on it, tell me how you feel. I got a blue bin that I got right next to me. It has nothing but like cards and of youth that has said I've impacted their life. Youth that has said like I appreciate just your time, your presence, everything, right? So like that part of self-awareness, being aware that I can create impacts on other people's lives, amazing. Now, the other end, the sour part, right? That has been like I'm in the trenches with myself. I'm in the trenches of discovering myself. Yeah, I'm in the trenches. I'm a trench baby for real. So that has been the sour part because it hurts. There's going to be parts of your journey that's going to hurt, and certain pain is good for you, and self-awareness pain is good for you because it also creates a person that knows what they want, that that has found who they are, that has discovered certain things, that knows what they don't want, all these different things, and also that has grown. Like sometimes you got to get knocked down to learn how to get back up, right? You will never learn how to get back up if you never been knocked down before. And that part is the sour part, getting knocked down, right? Um, I'm a quote a Cardi B song right now. Don't judge me, but it was like it was like off her first album, like where she said something like she got knocked down 9 times, she got back up 10. Right? I don't know the actual lyrics. Um, don't quote me, y'all. I don't bump Cardi B in my car. I just remember that one song. But yeah, it's like how many times are you willing to get back up? And for me, that's the hurt. That's the sour part. That's the part that hurts. But you can't have one without the other. Like you can't. You gotta have the sour and the sweet part of this self-awareness journey because the sweet part keeps it going and makes it worth it. The sour part, it's only worth it years down the line. Like in the midst of getting knocked down, you're not gonna like it. But when you get back up that last time and you finally overcome whatever you were dealing with, or you're no longer plagued by, this false characteristics that you used to carry, then that's when you realize like it means something. What happened to me 15, 16, 9 years old, 10 years old, I didn't like it in the moment, but at 28, it has created who I am today.
Real. And I thank you for like just having this space for me to come on and share my experience with self-awareness. And I also want to point out Miss Mel's comment. Her smiles brings a lot to the table that makes us do a lot of soul searching. And I have never agreed with something more than I agree with this statement. I think heart smiles, something about heart smiles is just like at the real. It's like it really brings us together. But we got like 3 minutes left. So unless anyone has any questions or any comments, I guess we can get into Jules. Mr. Sam, you want to go first?
Nah, you can go first. You've been dropping gems.
No, you can go first. You can go first.
Listen. All right. So I'm gonna actually use something I posted today on my business social media. If y'all don't know, follow me, Faith and Effort. I'll be dropping some real gems, and I'm not going to take credit for this quote because I actually got it from someone else, and I'm never a person that just out here stealing people's words. Don't make success about the results you can't control, meaning that you only can control the things that you only can control yourself. I'll say that. Like you only can control yourself, and everybody on this call wants to be successful in some way, shape, or form. But you cannot make success about the things you can't control because you will always be disappointed and you always view yourself as a failure. Because if you put success in other people's hands, it will always result in you feeling like you missed the mark. But when you think about success as what can I do today? What can I do now? These are the things that I want in life. How can I work towards it now? What do I have control over? And then you measure your success based off of your own actions that you have control over. So that's mine.
Okay, we got 1 minute left. Hold on, I'm about to drop our ask in the chat one more time. And y'all should follow my business page. And if y'all ever have any questions about things you want to see on how to better your social media presence, just DM me and I got y'all. And my quote is, or my jewel is actually a lyric from a song. It's a song by Glorilla and Cardi B. It's called Tomorrow Too. And every day the sun won't shine, but that's why I love tomorrow. So like Mr. Sam said, today might be a little sour, but tomorrow it's going to be a good day. So you got this. So yeah, That's my jewel.
Listen, y'all, I appreciate Don. Show Don some love. Don, you did your thing. I appreciate you. I appreciate the transparency. I appreciate your expert opinions. I appreciate everything that that you brought to this live. I know everyone in the chat, they've been going crazy. So listen, y'all. It's 7 o'clock. Enjoy the rest of y'all spring break. And that's everything I got for y'all. Everything I got for y'all. Stay blessed and highly favored.
All right, see y'all. Love y'all, and go be productive if it's like benefiting your health. But all right, see you. Love you. Bye.